Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and today I am over the moon, someone I've been a huge fan of for a long time. I got Lou Taylor Pucci here. He is from the movie, you know him as Eric from the Evil Dead 2013 reboot, as well as the Hitchhiker Jonas, an American Horror Story 1984. Or if you want to take a time capsule all the way back, Green Day, Jesus Suburbia. We got St. Jimmy here. Lou, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I kind of look more like the Eric from, Evil Dead remake right now. I got the long blonde hair, the beard. I just need the glasses.
There you go. We just watched that again last night, man. And that's such a great movie. And one part that always gets me, the bathroom scene, man. Like when you're pulling that needle out of your face.
Oh, man. So good stories about that.
Yeah.
So the deal was... actually, what's the guy's name? Sam Raimi. So I never met Sam, right? Crazy as it is. That's why I can't remember his name. I've never even met him. I love all his stuff though. So he came in and he was like, he would get sent the dailies from New Zealand where we were making the film. And he would see what happened with each scene. And he saw the bathroom scene and he was like, needs to be longer. Because at that time it was about halfway. And that part where she hits the sink, she comes after me and I actually slam the sink on her head. That was all new stuff that they added. So we did the bathroom scene twice, really. We had to add a whole nother half to that scene. And one of the last things that we did was Fede Alvarez, the awesome Uruguayan director who I worked with. He's incredible. He was like, he asked some of the set tricksters, the people who are making all the practical effects happen. It was like, what can we do that's real nasty to make this eye thing happen? And they were like, well, we have an idea, but it's gonna be like a magic trick that Lou has to pull off. Little did they know that I actually did magic when I was a kid for a long time. So I kind of had my shit together with that. But they said, what we want you to do, this is how the trick worked. It's pretty cool. They took a piece of a needle that was dull on both sides. They put a little bit of crazy glue on one side of it. Not crazy glue. It was some kind of an adhesive that would pull off. So they stick that piece to my eye so that it just kind of dangles there. And it could, if you pulled it, it would pull off, right?
Yeah.
So they put KY jelly on my fingers, between my fingers, so that it would slide through really quickly. They do a close-up of the eye from the side, and I have to pull out my eye skin, just enough, and then let my fingers slip on that and then pinch it at the end and actually pull it off so that it looks like it's actually coming out of the eye. And it is one of the nastiest things. We had 2 tries on it, and they were like, if we don't get it in the second try, then we don't get it. I was like, all right, man, we're going to get it this time. It worked, and it's the nastiest part. So thanks for liking that.
No, one thing about that movie, and I've talked about this often on the channel, I did a top 10 favorite remakes, and that was on there. And one thing that I absolutely love about this movie is how smart it is. It's not just a bunch of kids going to party in a cabin. It's not that same cliche. There's a reason they're there. There's a reason they don't have their technology. There's a reason that they're going to stay there. This isn't just, hey, let's go get wasted in the woods and, oh no, we read this book. There's a very good reason why everything happens. It was very intelligent. The directing was beautiful. The practical effects were absolutely amazing in this movie. You guys knocked it out. I couldn't have asked for a better Evil Dead reboot. And for all of us that are huge Evil Dead fans, you guys, it was amazing.
And so am I. I mean, I watched the originals in my friend's basement when I was 14, 15 years old. So it's part of my childhood as well. But Sam Raimi actually asked, he asked Fede. He saw Fede's short film. I don't know what the heck it was called. It's giant robots who they're taking over. It's a short, and it made a lot of waves when it came out on the internet. So Sam was like, I want you to take a look at Evil Dead. Fede was like, whoa, because Fede had seen the original Evil Dead when he was 8 years old, and it scared the fucking shit out of him. So this was like, okay, this is the coolest thing that could be possible. But Sam was like, make it different, try something different. And so the first thing that Fede actually wrote was the whole thing took place on a boat at sea, and that's what the Evil Dead version was. They were still taking her out there to detox her from her heroin addiction, just like this one, but they did it on a boat. So Sam gets the script. He's like, I love everything except that it's on a boat. Just put it back in a cabin, and you're gonna make this movie. And he's like, okay. So that's how it started.
Well, how can you say no to that?
Yeah, exactly. Just like childhood dream.
Right. Before we get into some of the stuff you're working on now, I got to let everybody know, if you have not seen this movie, The Chum Scrubber, that is the first experience I had of watching Lou, and it's not a horror movie. There's definitely a sprinkle of horror here and there. I mean, you know, what kind of life is this? You know, like it's such
time of like, this was the time of independent film at its peak. Like so many people were investing in smaller budgeted, big production, fairly larger production films. I mean, the cast was huge. It was like Glenn Close and Ray Fiennes. I mean, like insane names. But yeah, what a hell of a trip that thing was. What a crazy experience. That was the first time I ever went out to Los Angeles, was to audition. I had like 15 auditions in 3 days. That's how crazy the film industry was for my age range at that time in around 2003. They were just making indie after indie after indie. Auditioned for Thumbsucker and Chum Scrubber on that same trip. It's crazy.
Thumbsucker's another one. That's a great one. I'm not downplaying Thumbsucker, man, but Chum Scrubber, to me, that movie just, you know, everything about that movie. It's so, it reminds me of my teenage years, you know, like it really, really does. And I love the line, you know, who could call this a life? You know, I love that whole sequence when he's having the trip in the bedroom with the girl, when Jamie Bell's having that trip. Man, that whole scene is just incredible. And we talked about it before, but no spoilers here, but Lou stabs a kid in the movie, and it's one of the best scenes in the whole movie, man. Like, it's just, it's incredible. Your reaction, like your genuine, like, shock, like, oh my God, I did it.
You know why? Why I had that shock, that genuine shock, was because I actually stabbed the fucking camera operator by accident. I stabbed him right in the gut, and the camera actually, they cut like right after, because he goes, oh, camera guy. I cannot, oh my God. I actually, because I had to go in there like full point of view shot, and I was like, oh.
Dude, I love hearing behind the scenes stuff like that. At least he's okay.
Yeah, he's great. So, I think it was a dull fake knife, but like still, he was hit.
It's just I've talked to you about it, but just I fucking stabbed him. You know, I love that, man. I love it. I love that movie. I love the soundtrack to that movie. I actually had to go find a way to get that Rooney song after I'd watched that movie, because that song encapsulates that movie so well too.
It sure does.
So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, it's all right.
No, it's I appreciate you coming on. I do want to ask, 'cause I know things are crazy right now with COVID. I know that things aren't on schedule the way that they should be for you guys. But do you have anything coming up that you can talk to us about, or tell us that you got coming up?
Yeah, well, I don't think really that I can say much about it. All I know is that I've been working on for the past like 6 years trying to get toward more television, because television is just that it's that part of the industry that I had not really hit. When I started coming up, I was an independent film like noob, and then kind of became the indie darling. Like everybody was putting me in their independent films, and it was great until independent film died. And in around 2008, when the recession happened, people wanted to invest in bigger studio films more. Like it was all big, you know, Marvel type stuff started coming out, and TV, you know, like after Sopranos, after 2008, like everything started becoming like Sopranos. It was more, you know, what we see now. Now you have all these platforms fighting over it, like the old studios fighting over their own exclusive content to make you get a subscription to their content. So at this time right now, it's actually a really good time for actors, because new libraries are wanting to be filled on these platforms. One of them is Apple TV, and I just found out that I got a series regular on a show for Apple TV. So watch Apple TV and you'll see what it is, I guess.
That's awesome. Congratulations, man. And when you can give us any updates about it, please let me know. I do updates every Monday on past guests. So anything I can do to help the promotion of anything you're doing, I'd be more than happy to help with. So
fantastic, man. Yeah, I will.
Best of luck, man. I hope everything works out for the best for you.
Yeah.
So let's get into why you are here. We are here to talk about the first horror movie that you ever watched. And in your life, the first movie you ever watched was?
Wow. Well, okay. Funny story. My mom never actually watched the VHS tape that she would put into the VCR when I was a kid. And yeah, tapes used to go in VCRs, kids. They did. Yeah, and the VCR would play this, like it would start off with snow, and then it would be, and then it would be Creepshow 2. I think it was Creepshow 2. It might have been Creepshow 1. It's the one with the blob. They, I think
Creepshow
that's
2.
Creepshow 2. Yeah, yeah. That thing is nasty and crazy. So when I was a kid, I mean, not to be a total like piece of shit right now, but when I was a kid, I loved that one because the girl takes her shirt off and on the boat and she like dies with this blob on her. And so when I was a kid, I was like, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I'm watching this and I'm just like, oh my God, boobies and death.
Yes.
Which is crazy. It's stupid.
I think that's something all of us when we were kids, we seen
Yeah.
that one. And, the blob, that's the one that really stuck with me. That's the one, I think that was my favorite of the anthology
Oh,
because
so
you get to see
scary.
these. And when the blob comes up through the raft and it grabs him and he comes down and his foot is
Oh
still
my
up
God.
in the air.
When it's popping between the raft pieces and
Yeah.
he's dancing between it and he finally, oh my God, it's just, I don't really want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but when he gets to the beach and it
Yes.
doesn't matter. It's so good. It's so good.
And the way they do it, where he's almost cocky. I beat you.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you did?
Whoa! It just takes him. Oh,
Yes, man. It's so great.
also, the animation from that thing was so dark and twisted.
Mhm.
I don't know if you call it puppetry, but whatever they used for the skeletal, main narrator character, scary as sin. They just don't make movies that type of scary anymore. I
And
don't know
you,
how they made it so twisted, but I mean, it looks like a Halloween character, sort of, but it's just maybe it's his voice, his extremely deep voice that's so nasty. But it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. I
and
mean,
you have two icons in this movie, Stephen King and George Romero,
oh
working
yeah,
together on this movie, and it comes off, man. It's
I didn't
so
know
much
that
fun.
till I was a adult. I had no idea Stephen King was a part of it. Actually, okay, I did because isn't the meteorite? Isn't that also that might be Creepshow 1,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
in
where
one.
Stephen King plays the guy who is what's his
Yes.
name? Oh my God, I can't remember his name. It's the weirdest part of the movie.
Yeah.
Meteor shit,
Yes.
and
So,
his eyes the whole time. He's kind of like he's
and
just
Stephen King is always awesome when he does the goofy stuff in his
oh,
movie. Like I always like it, Creepshow 1, and then when he's in Maximum Overdrive at the ATM machine, and he's like, "This machine just called me an asshole." You know, that scene too. Whenever Stephen King does the goofy shit in his movies, I always am a fan of that.
whoa, you're gonna kill me right now. I've never seen Maximum Overdrive. That
Oh,
sounds
dude,
awesome. I've never
it's
seen that one.
it's such a fun. It's not a good movie, but it is a
Yeah, yeah.
very very fun movie. It's got Emilio Estevez in it. Um,
Awesome.
Dude, and like there's so many cool scenes in this movie. The practical effects of the movie are a lot of fun, but like a pop machine, like all the machines are coming to life and they're killing humans, and like a pop machine comes to
Oh,
life and starts
yeah,
hitting people.
I've seen trailers for that. I have seen pieces of it, like clips, but I never knew what the hell it was called. All right, Maximum Overdrive is on the
You
list.
got to check it out, man.
Yeah,
AC/DC did the soundtrack for it.
yeah. Oh my
So
God, they did
yeah,
the soundtrack for the movie.
yeah,
Oh,
dude,
that's awesome.
it's so much fun. It's one I would highly recommend for you.
Sick.
So let's go Creepshow 2. You got Old Chief Woodenhead,
Oh my
The
God.
Raft, and The Hitchhiker.
No.
Which one of those do you think affected you the most? I know we said The Raft was your favorite, but which one do you think affected you the most?
Thanks for the ride, Lee. I just wanted to
Yep.
say thanks for the ride. There's
Yes.
another it's another like my mom and me used to say thanks for the ride, lady, all the time when I was a kid. Thanks for the ride, lady.
Yep.
Because it's so scary to us. I mean, like he never leaves. He's the one of the best monsters ever created.
And
Ooh,
it's funny now
I might
that
have
I'm an
lost you.
adult.
Hold on. I've got you frozen on here.
Oh, hold on a second. Sometimes. There we go. We back?
Internet connection. Yeah, that's back. Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, so
You're talking
I
about
would
that.
say
Like,
the Hitchhiker, because I think it's one of the weirdest, scariest ones. I mean,
yeah.
just a monster of the guy who won't die.
And it's one of those things where I watch it
and-
now as an adult, and I never knew this as a kid, but when the lady's leaving, she was just leaving a male prostitute, and she's calling, and she's like, you know, I had to pay $500 for an orgasm, you know, and it's just like, you watch it now as an adult, and these things hit you that you never noticed when you were a kid. They went way over your head.
The only thing I ever remembered from it really that was important to me was that she was the real bad guy. And I love that. That's such a dark twisted, because there is no good guy. There's the wronged hitchhiker, but he becomes the monster that kills her. And so, like, I don't know, you're kind of excited when he kills her. Like you're okay with it because she's like a monster.
She's a piece of shit. Like, especially when you watch that movie again now that you're an adult and really pay attention to that whole thing. Yeah, she's such a piece of like, she calls her husband like, okay, yeah, I love you. Then she starts talking to herself about just paying $20 per orgasm.
But
you know,
that acting job of talking to herself in the car is some of the best, coolest work I've ever seen. It's just really good. The acting throughout those movies is really, really well done.
Yeah, and when she's in the car talking to herself, she goes through every range of emotion. Like, she's going through, you know, the laughing and the fear, and she's just going crazy in front of our eyes as she's going. So that's it's so intense when she's driving that car.
Did you hear about this? Like, I know because there was a Creepshow 3, right? And it was like not that. Okay. No. But then apparently there's supposed to be like a Creepshow show that's going.
It's on. It's on right now. It's on Shudder.
Is it good? You like it?
I see. It's an anthology, so there are some that are really good, some that are really bad. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. Like, it was one of those things where, check it. If you don't have a subscription to Shudder, you should definitely look into it. It's such a. I'm not getting pimped by them or anything, but it is such a good avenue. It's all horror movies, all horror shows. They got a lot of good original content. They have a lot of the good old stuff that we grew up on. And the Creepshow TV show, it's definitely worth a watch. Like, one of them definitely plays on American Werewolf in London. In American Werewolf in London, when he has that dream sequence of the Nazi werewolves, they have a whole episode based around Nazi werewolves.
Oh, so that's awesome. All right. Well, that sounds fun to watch. All right. I could see that.
Yeah, it's a blast.
So I was very, like, mind blown to find out that they were doing a show. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch for sure. It's so much fun.
Time, too. Like, anthologies are just winning right now. Yep. Everything.
And I've always been a huge fan of anthology, whether it be Creepshow, Tales from the Hood, Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, any of the tales. Because you can have 3 episodes, one be garbage and the other 2 completely redeem a whole thing. So, yeah.
Tales from the Crypt also really influenced parts of my childhood, too. I mean, like, there was that Tim Curry episode where he plays everyone in the family.
Oh, man. I don't remember that one.
Scary, weird. Oh, shit. I've lost you one more time. I don't know what happened. All right, we'll come back.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes it'll do that. It's Zoom sometimes is just a pain in our butt. So when we're talking about Creepshow and Creepshow 2, let me ask you this. Out of the 2 films, which film of the 2 is your favorite?
Well, I think I love The Crate better than any of the other episodes, but I think that's my favorite one in that. That's Creepshow. That's the end of Creepshow 1. Yep. Correct? Yeah, so I think I could not that I could take or leave the rest of Creepshow 1, because, you know, every single bit of those, God, it's like Stephen King's perfect one-liners for each of those anthology episodes. He's got all you have to do is hold your breath.
Man, Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson in that horror segment.
All you have to do is hold your breath. Yes, I can hold my breath for a long time.
Yes, man.
And then you got where's my cake, Bedelia?
Yes.
I want my Father's Day cake.
And it's funny because we, as a family, I have 3 kids. I have my wife, and we have holiday movies that we watch. You know, like we
Yeah.
watch Gremlins on Christmas. We watch Halloween 3 on Halloween. And on Father's Day, I get Creepshow. Like that's my
Oh my God,
Father's Day cake.
it's such
You
a
know?
good Father's Day show. That's amazing. Yeah, but
So
his one-liners are incredible. So I love watching them for the anthology of it. It's like listening to a whole album. But the crate is my favorite one. It's just the scariest thing and the best. What is the line in that one? It's God, there's a couple of lines in that one, but what is the thing that she says? It's, oh, just tell it to call you Billy.
it's so great, man.
Yeah, that's so good.
And you're right, because back then, every one of them, when they have their what, it's all so intense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the intensity of every single one of them is just it's there, man.
The last one, it's also the mystery. You know what I mean? Like this crate from Antarctica from 1890 whatever, and it's some Arctic expedition, and so he pulls it out from, it just seemed like plausible. It seemed interesting and strangely plausible. Like, wow, this could have happened. Like somebody put this monster, this abominable snowman type monster into this crate, put it under the stairs and left it for 100 years, and somehow the thing comes out alive. And but the acting in that scene, I don't even know who that guy is, that actor. But when he cries and he's goes back to his friend's house and he's just freaking the fuck out about what just happened to him, and he's like he goes into that point of actual laughter in his hysteria.
Yeah.
I've never seen better hysteria done in my whole life.
Yeah,
it's incredible. So a lot of those things influenced my acting too, just like wanting to be an actor, because seeing that done so well and scare the shit out of me, it's not really done too often.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was my next question, actually, is how much these movies influenced you, because you want to talk about the hysteria. I mean, we can talk about Evil Dead when you're on the ground after the nail gun incident and you just start laughing. That's a scene that we were talking about, like, and you pulled that off great, because, people are, what the fuck's he laughing for?
So I wished that they had gotten the first time that it happened, because it happened spontaneously. And they rolled the camera afterward. They were like, Fede was like, I like that you're laughing. I think that we should do this again. Can you just start laughing again? Just like get really fucked up and then just start laughing again. I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. We were in a sort of hysteria because there's blood all over us. We can't move. I mean, I got this contraption on my hand, on my chest, nails in my arm, like everything is messed up. And we've been doing this scene for 3 days. Like that's not something I've ever even done before. So it was so technical. And I just remember. She's in Shiloh's arms, and she's like saying like my face hurts.
My face hurts.
And that's that's when I started cracking up, like fucking cracking up so bad.
Yeah.
And so that's when Fede said, we should get that on film. Let's try that. I think I like this.
Yeah. And it works because you're right, because it is kind of comical at that point, because she's just been doing all this to you guys. And why does my face hurt?
Yeah.
They have you just laughing over in the corner, dude. And it's so perfectly executed. I'm glad you had that laugh there, because that adds so much to that scene, because you do get a little bit of a comedic break right there, but at the same time, your anxiety's starting to rise, because it's like, oh no, is he infected now?
I think that, you're right. You're absolutely right. And me and Fede had a similar humor on it that I don't know if a lot of the rest of the cast shared. They had never seen the original Evil Deads. They had never really had the growing up with it that I had. So I loved horror since I was a kid. Not only was that, Creepshow 2 and 1 the first films I ever loved for horror, but they were the first films I ever even saw. That and Batman in the movie theater, and Terminator 2 in the movie theater as well.
Yeah.
That was in a drive-in movie theater, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But seriously, like, they influenced my entire making of the remake for Evil Dead, or the reboot, or whatever the hell they call it, because it wasn't exactly a remake, obviously.
Right.
But
it was perfectly done, and I'm so glad that you just brought that up, man, because I wanted to talk to you about that scene, but I didn't know how you felt about it, because I personally love your laughing scene there. And the fact
Oh,
that you
that's
just brought up
great.
the hysteria thing, like it's just, and then obviously after that, you do turn into a deadite,
Yeah.
and which broke my heart. I was like, no, I wanted you to survive this. Like,
Man, I just, in general, I would say I had the best part in the whole movie. Like, best written character.
Mhm.
Because he gets to die multiple times. He keeps saving the day. He's a lot like the Bruce Campbell character of the original, like closer than anybody else
Yeah.
in some ways.
Well, and he knows he's gonna die, and you even say, you're like, dying doesn't sound that bad. I just don't want to be the devil's bitch. You know?
This is one of the best fucking lines ever.
Yes.
I mean, so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. I remember us being freezing cold outside on location in New Zealand, in the woods, on a Native American burial ground, which is where they decided to fucking make this thing.
Have they
So
never seen Poltergeist?
are you kidding me, guys? Like, and it had this billowing fog and smoke throughout. I mean, I'm against a truck tire, and it's freezing outside, and I got blood all over me. And I'm not supposed to be able to move most of my face, and I have to say those lines, and I just kept cracking up every single take. I started cracking up.
Well, and that's
He kept adding new possibilities, like say I don't want you to I don't want the devil to fuck me in the ass, or I don't want you to get sucked off by the devil, or something like that. So he kept adding new crazy ideas to it, but they went with I don't want to be the devil's bitch.
when you just talked about how your character most is comparable to Ash. I see that because at the beginning of the movie, and this is no knock at you, but you almost look, you're that nerdy school teacher.
Totally.
And you're the nerd that, and just like in the original, Bruce Campbell is, if you watch that original one again, he's not, shop smart, shop smart. That's not him at all.
Yeah,
and
true.
After you read the book and you start seeing stuff, like when you see the boiling water thing in the book, after she had just been in the hot shower, you start putting that two and two together, like, fuck, I gotta fucking shit or get off the pot here.
I'm the guy who's figuring it out 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you tell
I'm
him,
the guy who
if we want to save her, we got to kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved being the voice of reason. I mean, that was really epic. It was very fun to play the smart character, the character who not only was the catalyst for everything bad happening, but is the only one who actually knows a little bit about how to stop it.
Yeah. And it was incredible, man. I had so much fun. It's one of those movies that like I said, I've talked about it before. I'm not just doing this because you're on the channel. I have past reviews where I've talked about how much I enjoy this movie, and to have you on now to talk about it and hear some of this behind the scenes stuff makes me appreciate it even more, man.
Well, when I first I didn't even want to audition for that movie because I was like, seriously, something, let me, my mom is calling, and just pandemic stuff, I just got to pick up. So let's
You're
do
good.
it. Hey, Ma, what's up? Oh, shit. All right. One sec. Uno más. One sec.
I'm not going to cut this, man, unless you said something crazy I'm not supposed to hear.
They arrived. Okay, cool. Let me call and just make sure everything's okay with Mama.
Dude, my mom's around my neck all the time, bro. So nothing more important than your mom.
You have to call the mama.
Yes. Let
Hey,
that be a
Ma.
lesson for all you out there.
Oh, good. It's done. All right. Okay, I got to go right now, but everything's cool? No, I'm on an interview. All right. Okay, bye. I love you. Bye.
I'll say you better tell your mom you love her, bro.
Figured it out. All right, she's all good.
Good.
Okay, to start, I just wanted to say that what happened with the beginning of that movie was, honestly, like, because I was such a huge fan and so many remakes suck, I saw that they were auditioning for Evil Dead, and I was like, I'm not even going out. There's no way I want to be a part of ruining my favorite thing from when I was a kid, because that's what they're going to do every time. Could not believe it when they said, after a week of them going, like, my agent saying, go in. They're seeing everybody. I was like, they're seeing everybody? Okay, maybe. All right, I'll go in. So I do a terrible audition, but that casting director actually cast me in Go Getter a million years ago. So she had me back anyway. And thank God, because I had found out that in the second audition, Bruce Campbell would be there in the second audition. He would actually sit in the room. So I was like, holy shit, I get to meet Bruce Campbell?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be there. I don't care what. And then I found out he's producing. I'm like, wait a second. If he's producing, this was his vehicle. This changed his whole life. I cannot see him ruining his own film that did so well when he was younger. So, I mean, once that happened, I had a better feeling for what was going on. I auditioned. I went into the audition, and I was like, hey, Bruce Campbell, how you doing? And he's sitting at the back of the room, huge, you know, giant chin, just big face, big guy. And he goes, just want you to know, you got the part. We're not seeing anybody else for it. You got it. And I'm like, are you bullshitting me right now? He goes, yeah, I'm bullshitting you right now. It's like, thank God. I love you, Bruce Campbell. And then luckily, after that, I did get the part because it would have been a weirder story to tell if I hadn't have got it. But he was super nice. He stayed out of the process completely. He wanted us to make it our own thing. And honestly, when I found out that most of their money was going to go toward visual effects, and that's why they were making it in New Zealand at Rob Tappert's studios there, because Rob Tappert he did Hercules, the Legendary Hero. He's married to Xena Warrior Princess Lucy Lawless. He made Spartacus. All those things come out of New Zealand. He's one of the original producers of Evil Dead, the original. He made it in Sam Raimi's basement with Bruce Campbell and Sam.
Yeah.
Crazy,
See, so
huh?
when you have all those people, like you said, that are connected to a remake or a reboot, however you want to word it, you know they're not going to shit on it because this is something that they didn't sell it off. They want to be a part of this because of how much they loved it.
They wanted it to succeed, and they knew that they wanted to make it into a TV show as well. They didn't know if they would go with like a franchise first, like a Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness remake, or if they would go toward the show, which is what they ended up doing. And the show was pretty awesome.
I love Asteroid City.
Parts, but lovely fucking show. Really funny, really funny. And I mean, how much were they involved is insane. One time I went into the ADR, which is to go get our audio, redone so that we can speak into the microphone so that it's a better quality audio after the film was already finished. And so I got to see my first piece of the film. I walk around and it's like lunch break, and out of a room comes Bruce Campbell. I'm like, what are you doing here, man? He goes, I asked them if I could take audio from the original Evil Dead, and I'm trying to find places in the movie to insert that old original audio to like make it more feel like the original, to just have an homage to the original. I was like, you are doing that, Bruce Campbell? What the fuck? I mean, like, so connected in every minute detail of trying to make that movie seriously good. So
That's awesome.
I knew I was in good hands.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. And I've heard so many good stories about Bruce. And like I said, still to this day, I'm, big Evil Dead fan.
Hell yes.
I got the vinyl soundtrack to Evil Dead 2 sitting over there. I mean, like, it's something that I've always been a huge fan of. So I'm like you. When remakes come out, most of the time I'm weary. But I'm not one of those people that thinks remakes are inherently bad. If they're done right and they're done correctly, I think they can be
good.
Yeah, like look at Dawn of the Dead as well, the 2003 Dawn of the Dead. I love that remake, and I'm a big fan of the original too. So I don't think having a remake takes anything away from the original. I think if you can like them both, love them both. And just because I like the remake doesn't mean I think the original is any worse.
No, and the best thing is when they make it different, is when they do make it a reboot and they change something really valuable about it and make it better. Very rare, but it happens. I just noticed that your poster behind you is House, which is so good. House 2 is actually the first VHS that was ever put on for me when I was a kid. And House 2 is one of the most weird, fucking cool movies I've ever seen in my whole life. Yeah. So inadvertently, you have my other favorite horror film right behind you right now.
This is my favorite horror film. This is the first horror. This influenced what I'm doing right now. This was the first horror film I ever watched. My connection to this film cannot be overstated at all. I adore this film. My grandma actually, I owned a video. I didn't, but my parents and grandparents, when I was a kid, owned a video store, Downtown Video, in the town I lived in.
Where?
Adrian, Michigan.
Cool, man. Going to the video store was literally my whole childhood. I just couldn't wait to get to the local video store.
So it's House is one of the ones that my grandma wasn't a huge horror fan, and House is more of a horror comedy. So we would watch that movie all the time, and we would play house where I would go to my grandma and be like, we open the door at exactly 12 o'clock.
That's so cool.
The closet
That's
door,
so
man.
cool.
So
House 2 was the one with the old man and like the
yeah, they
Aztec
dug up.
people or the Mayans like underneath the ground and the crystal skull. I mean, like, oh, House 2 was the one I saw first. And
It's such an out there movie,
blew
man.
my mind. It's such an abstract sort of an anthology film because each door that he goes in is like, one is dinosaurs, one is the old man, and the old man is so fucking funny. His grandfather, I think.
Yeah.
He says he looks in the mirror and he goes, "I'm 170-year-old fart."
Yes, dude. I'm glad you have an appreciation for that. I feel like, because I talk about this a lot, where I grew up, nobody knew what House was. Nobody. So I look at it as my baby. So like I promote it. I was lucky enough to just do an interview with some of the cast and crew from a movie coming out called The Colony. And as we were talking, one of the actresses, Charlotte Horton, had never seen House. So I was like, listen, before we do this interview, you have to watch House so we can talk about it a little bit during the interview because that's my baby.
It's huge part of my childhood too. That's funny. It's really cool I love the subculture of horror so much because of this, because it really is just fan appreciation. They get snubbed at the awards. So like this is their award. We get to talk about them and actually give a shit about them 30, 40 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, it's epic.
Well, and the horror community, this is something I've said on probably every episode, but horror is so big in our community that they don't have rom-com con, but you have horror con where we just go and we dress up and we get to meet cool people like you and just hang out and talk about horror movies. And you don't get a sci-fi, maybe you get a little bit of that, but you don't get it like you do with horror movies. You know, with sci-fi, you get like the Star Wars and the Star Trek, but that's it. In horror, it's a whole world of movies that we just appreciate so much that we dedicate our lives to talking about it. And it's so incredible.
It is. Talking about dressing up, actually, because I'm an actor, so I loved putting costumes on when I was a kid, like especially Halloween. It was my favorite holiday. I would always dress up as Freddy Krueger because Freddy Krueger was my favorite character. Oh, man. I have it. Wait, shit. Look at this. I got this guy right here.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. Also, I got a couple other ones, too. Got Edward Scissorhands here. Sweet as fuck. I mean, he's kind of a horror. He's kind of sad.
He's the PG Freddy, man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And then one of my other favorites, American Psycho.
American Psycho.
Incredible. And then this guy. This is a fan favorite as well.
Of course.
The original Tim Curry It Clowns. So good.
See, and when it comes to the It, I do like the It remake, but Tim Curry's portrayal of Pennywise, to me, it's not as scary. Like the clown itself, he's approachable.
I think it's scarier, but you're right. It's scarier because he's approachable.
Like, right, and that's what I mean. I mean, the clown itself isn't as scary, so it makes it. I would go up to that one. If I seen Bill Skarsgård, who did an amazing job as Pennywise, I'd run the fuck away the minute I seen him.
They wanted to do a different thing, you know what I mean? And so I understand that that's not his choice. I don't like his version of the character as much because of the nostalgia of growing up with the original, but also because the original really scared the shit out of me because he was approachable, like you said, because he was an entertainer and a clown to draw kids in. And it drew you in as the audience. It was like, oh no, I want to kind of like go hang out with that clown right now. Oh my God, my head's being eaten off.
Well, it's just like I can't tell you how many times when I was a kid, I'd be like,
Billy boy.
Yes, man. So I totally get it. Like that's what I think is scarier about that original one is he's not a demon monster looking. He looks human, and he doesn't. So you can approach him thinking you'll get a giraffe.
As human as Tim Curry does look, because Tim Curry's got the craziest fucking face ever.
He does, man.
Well, he did. I love Tim Curry so much. He had a stroke. It's the saddest thing in the world. Like of all the things to happen to somebody, you know, it's kind of like Robin Williams or something, you know, where all of a sudden he can't control his body, and so like he does what he does, but Tim Curry actually had a stroke, and so he can't control his mouth anymore. It's such a sad thing. It's like, you know, just Weird how life fucks you.
Oh yeah, that's like, you know, you talk about Robin Williams and now, you know, Tim Curry, he's known for that smile.
Oh
It's
my
like, you know,
God.
Christopher Reeves falling off a horse and breaking his neck, you know,
Totally the
Superman.
same. Yeah, totally the exact same thing. How does Superman become, handicapped?
Yeah,
It's
it's
insane.
absolutely heartbreaking. So we did talk about your first horror movie. I
Yeah.
got two more questions for you before I
Sure.
let you go. What is your favorite horror movie? You can only choose one, your absolute favorite horror movie.
Oh, this is really difficult. See, like I would say, see, I haven't revisited it, but for a very, very long time, it was Mothman Prophecies.
Nice.
Why? Because it scares the shit out of me still to this day. Because it makes itself feel so much like a true story, and in some ways it is, I guess, if you like follow the myth of it. But just the storytelling was so good. Richard Gere obviously played it as a drama the whole time, so it felt very real. Um, and that kind of prophecy type of, the world is working in this way where there are these watchers who, and one of the lines in it is like something like, if you're seeing they can just see from further away, so they see things happening before it happens, these
Hmm.
Mothman things, and so it's just one of the scariest things I ever saw. Also, you start a movie with like losing your wife or girlfriend, and it's sort of like a vengeance story. That's a good way in for me. For some reason, I always empathize with that kind of a character person.
And that movie's more shadow. I haven't seen it in a long time either, but you don't see any monster. It's all shadows, if I remember correctly, isn't it?
It's You never really see a monster. In
Yeah.
some ways it's kind of like got that paranormal activity, feeling of like you never actually see it, but
But you know.
scariness of it, and I think that that's truly what suspense is all about. I mean, that's what it's the most suspenseful, scary little film. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that's to answer your question. I think the one of the favorites is Mothman Prophecies. Strange, but
And
good.
I feel that way about like the Blair Witch too. I love that you never see the Blair Witch because I think that does enhance when you can use your imagination to think
Yeah.
of what this thing is that's coming after you.
Oh
It
yeah.
makes it 10 times scarier than anything they could put on the screen.
I don't know if you ever saw the original version of Legend and then the director's cut of Legend by Ridley Scott, but
Mm.
Tim Curry again. Tim Curry plays the devil, um,
Yeah.
and the original version, you see the devil from the beginning. He's within it. He's like playing with his minions. It's very like playful and strange. But in the director's cut, the reason the director's cut is so good, on top of that, the movie is orchestrated instead of pop music by Tangerine Dreams, I think. But like way better to have like Star Wars type music than Legends Can Be Now and Forever. So the best thing that happens though in that film is that they suspend your Tim Curry. You don't get to see him until an hour and a half into the film, which is
Yeah.
and it becomes a 2.5 hour film. But
Right.
but
But
the
Jaws too. I
suspending
mean,
that
you don't see the shark all that much in Jaws, and that
exactly.
increases that suspense.
Yeah, increases it incredibly, and they need to use that more. Today, it's all so much about showing rather than kind of making you imagine. But making you imagine is what makes you fucking scared.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. Today, ever since, and I don't blame Saw because I think I do like the Saw franchise a lot, but
Yeah,
ever since then, we've definitely gone more torture porn
mm,
than fear.
that's for
Watching
sure.
a guy get ripped apart now is not
Right.
more scary to people than the suspense of maybe like even Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, that might be my favorite horror film, quality wise. That's insane. It's one of the best. Obviously, it's one of the best horror films ever, but I think it might actually be my favorite. Um,
so creepy.
yeah, just the darkest character ever.
Yeah. Well,
Ah,
one last question for you before I let you go. We're going back to Creepshow 2. I always end these with a skull count. So you're giving Creepshow, you're rating it on a scale, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. What's your ranking of Creepshow 2?
I mean, for me, Creepshow 2 is the absolute best that it can be. I don't think that it can go more. I mean, if there could be six skulls, it would be six skulls.
Yeah.
Because I feel like maybe it is just the nostalgia of it, but you believe what's happening. You believe the scenarios, you believe the actors, it's really twisted and dark. And when you believe that stuff, when you can actually fully suspend disbelief, you are in it and you are scared shitless. And as a guy, we don't really get to do that so often. We have to always pretend that, oh, it's fine. Like, I'm not scared of that. But with that, you can really get into it and get,
You show me one person that doesn't get terrified of the Hitcher, man. That shit is scary. Like I said, that shit holds up today, man. That Hitchhiker one, that shit is so scary.
Because it feels like a real scenario. I mean, honestly, another movie that's kind of like that, but not a horror, I guess you'd not consider it. It's more of a drama or a suspense. Maybe it's a thriller. But I think it's called Breakdown. Breakdown with Kurt Russell. Did you ever see that?
Mm-mm.
Like, there's a breakdown. They break down on the side of the road with his wife, and a semi trucker stops. Says, I'm going to drive the wife to the next town to go use the phone, and he lets her do it. Doesn't get a call back. Tries to get to the next town. Finds out that his car was actually fucked with when they stopped last time, and that this semi trucker has now taken his wife to like go torture her and like just fuck with them. And Kurt Russell tries to get right back the entire time. Breakdown is incredible. You have to see that movie. I think you love it.
I'm gonna.
Horror, but it's one of the scariest things I've ever seen.
Oh, and like there's people out there that don't consider Jurassic Park or Terminator horror movies, and I absolutely do. If these movies scare the shit out of you, like Jurassic Park. If I was in Jurassic Park, what the fuck? And Terminator, when they wrote that movie, when James Cameron wrote that, he was trying to create the sci-fi Michael Myers. He came out and said that. That's a total slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
So people I think that there's a lot of suspense thriller movies that are more terrifying than horror movies.
Yeah, because it's unsuspecting that there's going to be a monster involved, and when there is a true monster involved, you're like, oh, I love this. It's scary as shit. It feels real.
A lot of thrillers and suspense movies play on real life shit. How realistic is that you break down at the side of the road and somebody takes your wife and you think that they're going to get help and then she's just gone? I mean, that shit can happen, and it happens every day.
It's a constant thing that happens in my brain. If I take a road trip, I'm just like, who's gonna try and mess with me somehow, or like screw up my family or something? It's like constant defense. I drive with a machete next to me.
Well, man, hey, thank you for taking the time out to talk to us. Don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, stay what you are, keep talking horror, and we'll talk to you guys soon.